the old Jerusalem garbage dump, is what is called E1. And when we get to Eid in a little while, I'll show you the maps. The plan is to fill in E1 with 3,000 shwai shwai. Now, if we can stop here at this bus stop, that will be great. Yeah, absolutely fun. That's super. The plan is for 3,500 housing units or more on these hills, so that Ma'ale Adumim becomes one concrete block, a development of East Jerusalem. And that throws a huge wedge through the West Bank. And again, I'll show you on the maps why, when we sit in a group with the maps. And this is really the end of the two-state solution as far as everybody is concerned, even the most avowed Zionist liberals. The police station down here at about 10 o'clock, that was built with Moscovitz money, $10 million by the settlers for the state of Israel. I mean, I don't know if any of you ever felt like buying Capitol Hill. That's more or less what they did, and they said, well, we'll build you another police station elsewhere. They built this one here so that they could keep in Silwan, in Ras Al Amud, next to Silwan, near the old city, an old Jordanian police station that is now being converted to 100 settlement units. Very strategic. And this here now down there has become the main headquarters of the ordinary blue police for the whole of the West Bank. And this was inaugurated in about 2004, 2005, when in theory we were very heavily still in the roadmap, Oslo and so on and so forth. So again, Israel has doubled the number of settlers during the Oslo years. They have hugely increased the settlements in very strategic places. So there was obviously never any intention during Oslo to really discuss real peace. On the contrary, they put down facts on the ground that broadcast to the Palestinians that there was no such intention. If you look into the distance over there, again at about 10 and 11 o'clock, you will see, if you look carefully, various different types of settlements. One in the far distance, in amongst trees, is where we're going more or less. That's an old settlement, that is Kfar Adumim. Then you have Anatot settlement here, with the red roofs in the distance. All of these settlements being part of the Ma'ale Adumim
tell me when we get to a
settlement block.
checkpoint so I can turn this off?
And even though there's a large
Can you tell
amount
me
of
when we get
land
to a
between
checkpoint
each
so I can turn this off?
Okay. Oh, yeah.
the municipal boundaries
No
are
checkpoints
such
or-
that the settlements themselves are built on only about 10% of the land they've taken, so one is the neighbor of the next, and that's what creates this huge wedge, this large block. Okay? The road down here, by the way, that's a 200 million shekel road that goes up to the police station, money that was supposed to go for public housing in Israel. And when we are nearer to the Bedouin, where we're going, I will show you some illegal outposts that are currently very much under the spotlight because the Knesset is trying to pass legislation, some Knesset members, that legalize even the illegal outposts, i.e., when Ariel Sharon in the 90s said to the settlers, grab every hilltop, what we take now will remain ours and the rest will go to them. Settlers with caravans, funded by every single government ministry, took over Palestinian privately owned land, and those are now becoming legalized. I will show you some of them as we go down towards the Bedouin, but as I say, that's how all of these settlements started anyway. And what was considered at one point illegal under Israeli law, of course all of this is illegal under international law, is now becoming legalized. Okay, I'm sure. Different standards of housing. So some of these would reflect people from lower income or unemployed, from the periphery, because of course with all the government ministries in Jerusalem there's work there. subsidized housing, subsidized education, a higher education system here, or standard, subsidized transport to Jerusalem. For me to get on one of the buses and go into Jerusalem, it's just the price of an ordinary journey within Jerusalem. Here we have on the right a museum of art, recently inaugurated. Villas here. If you can Google, I'm sure Google Earth will show you various swimming pools, but there are 4 municipal swimming pools. And all of that area there on the left in the distance has been recently built. One whole area was built during the days of the roadmap when Israel signed on the dotted line to stop settlement building, including natural expansion. But as I said earlier, they say that this is in the consensus, that it will always remain Israeli. So all of that area over there, either still being built or having been built during the days of the roadmap.
Are all these settlement homes inhabited or?
Arnie has a question, good question. Are all these settlement homes occupied? Are there people living here? I'm not sure down there how much is still, some is still being built. I don't know what is empty or not, but I can tell you that in a settlement such as Har Homa, which is in the southeast of Jerusalem, East Jerusalem, next to Beit Sahor, that half of that is empty. And yet they're building more than ever down there because of its strategic value. Huge amounts of money, billions of dollars. Whilst within Israel, 1 in 3 children are under the poverty line, the education standard has gone crashing down, health system is breaking up in certain ways. Last summer the doctors were on strike for months. There is no hospital here. There is a college. Well, there's at least one college. There are 2. But they have all of the health clinics and they have their own ambulance, so they're in Hadassah Mount Scopus in 10 minutes, next to the Hebrew University there. Many of the people living here would work inside Ma'ale Adumim, whether in the schools or the municipality or in other businesses here. We're going to go out through their own industrial estate, so many of them would have industries. Do not mess with the police. And as I said earlier, many of them also working in government ministries in Jerusalem, and thinking of themselves as average Israelis. They do not identify themselves as settlers. In fact, most Israelis think of settlers as those few guys living out on the hills, the crazies with guns, who believe in redeeming biblical prophecy, who do not abide by Israeli laws because they say they have a higher law, which includes murder and so forth, without any court case or police file being opened. Looking out now into the Jordan Valley, behind these hills here is the Dead Sea. And very good quality of life here. It's quiet, it's clean, beautiful views, good air. Who needs to be in stuffy, tense, impoverished Jerusalem, the poorest city in Israel? Because the religious community doesn't pay tax, they don't work, and the Palestinians have something like I think it's 50% or 60% unemployment rate. All of this was built in the days of the roadmap. So in 2003, 2004, I was bringing people here. We've signed on the dotted line to cease settlement building. Are we in a peace process? Doesn't look like it. But of course we blame the Palestinians. And I'm in the middle of reading online an article that Obama met recently with a Jewish organization, and he's blaming the Palestinians too in order to get himself re-elected. Which is really, you know, that takes the biscuit, doesn't it? It's all their fault. They're all terrorists. And somebody told me when I was in Paris recently at the UN conference that people met with Michelle Obama just before the inauguration and asked her, please remember the Palestinians, please do not forget what you know. And her response was, we will not forget what we know. I rather think that they have had some sort of willful amnesia, probably because he couldn't in the first term do everything he wanted to. And we'll see whether in the second term there's any difference. Many American immigrants living in this particular neighborhood, apparently.
From Brooklyn.
Another ancient Palestinian olive tree, which Palestinians refer to as Roman trees or grandfathers. Very much the patrimony, the heritage that you pass on to your children. And here in front of us, a technical college teaching pilots from the Air Force and also astronauts. Very much Israel part of NASA's militarization of space, spy satellites, security in the air, and so on and so forth. Probably even Star Wars. And now looking out there at the Ma'ale Adumim settlement block, Grab Every Hilltop was taken seriously. In 1997, I can remember flying down to Eilat, and the pilot brought tourists over Jerusalem to show them, and every single hilltop looked like a boiled egg in the morning when you cut off the head of it, the top. And I can see over there on the left, just disappearing, a water tower and caravans, which you'll see it again in a minute. This is the industrial estate down there, straight ahead of us on the left, 11 o'clock, with a military base further over on the left. I think we'll just manage to get out through the electronic gates because this is Friday.